But the question really becomes is, how do we build agility into our organizations as we look at our processes, our technology, the way that we structure ourselves, our people, et cetera. We got to start thinking about agility because of the volatility in the marketplace and some of these other types of areas. So one of the things is, as you think about agility, we talk about three things that we believe are important as you start becoming more agile as an organization. One being this idea of analytical. And I forgot who was talking about that, we talked about it several times today, but having the analytical foresight, not necessarily the stuff of looking at in the past and the historical information in terms of our spend analysis, et cetera, but looking forward. There's a lot of intelligence, a lot of analytics that we can do. We talked about some of the multivariable analysis that we can do and do more predictive, to work with the business, to work with finance, et cetera, to help them do the scenario analysis in terms of if prices went up by 20%, what's that going to impact? Or if our revenue went by up by 20% or anything like that, how is it going to impact our prices as an organization? There's a lot of different scenarios that we can do and do this scenario analysis. So we have to get much more predictive. If we can't predict what's going to happen, we're certainly going to have to be more agile in terms of being able to react to whatever does happen. So the other thing is this digital, perspective. Being much more digital, being much more, electrified and, with, our internal customers, our external customers, our suppliers, our employees as organizations, et cetera. And then lastly, the whole idea of this, responsive customer-centric area. Not just responsive, but putting the customer at the center of everything that we do. And it really brings me to the point of, thinking about us as a procurement organization and what does customer-centric really mean? People have a lot of perspectives when they think about, what does it mean, customer centricity? And, our perspective is that you always start with the customer and work your way back. You create more, pull models versus push models in terms of our services as an organization. A lot of times, sort of like we run around with a hammer looking for a nail, and we got certain, sourcing services, et cetera, and we're trying to figure out where we're going to apply those in the organizations. Customer-centric models start with the customer. What do they need? You got organizations out there, DuPont is an example, they built Six Sigma capabilities within their procurement organization. If you go out and you look at any standard taxonomy in procurement or whatever, you just don't see that as a process that we typically do. Why did they build it? Because their customers wanted it. Okay? They built it to house it within procurement, but it wasn't somewhere else. So as you look at other things, and I want to use an example. Is Uber over here in the? Yes. Okay. I got exposed to this back in January. Members of my team, and I'm pretty traditional. I go out and I get my taxi, whatever. But you know what? I tried that out. That is fabulous. And one of the things I just wanted to talk about is how does that apply to us in procurement? And if you think about it, and you think about the customer experience, we don't always think about our customer. And I think the first thing we got to do is we got to stop using terms like stakeholders and business users and all those types of things. They're customers. Think about the way that you interact and you work with your customers and how you treat a customer. It's different than the way in the thinking. A lot of times we just got to call them customers because it's going to force us to think differently. Okay? So you think about Uber. One of the things is self-service. It puts the control in your hands, right? You got this, what makes it great? Ease of use, 24/7 availability. I like the real-time visibility. I can go on my iPhone, look on there, see which taxis are available or cars are available, within, how far away, how much time they would actually get there. I can see a picture of the driver. I can actually see how satisfied other users and consumers were in the past. It provides some control to me as an end user. And so, the question is, how can you apply that to procurement? Expectations are clearly set. How often we go out there and we say, you're going to go do something. We do stakeholder services. We ask organizations, what do you like about procurement? The biggest complaint we get about procurement is not because they haven't saved enough money, they haven't driven enough value or anything like that. It's you're too slow. It's cumbersome. It's difficult to work with. Do you think that's customer centric? So we said, let's do something. Let's have ETAs, estimated times that we're actually going to get done, and actually do it. The other thing is clear pricing. It's all visible. When you go on Uber, you can sit there and look at, which car you have, and do you want a Honda because that's what the person is driving, or do you want a black car service, or a black car SUV or whatever? And it'll tell you how much it's going to cost. Even if it's a busy time, they'll have I forgot what they call it, the uplift in the pricing, on there. And you can look, and so you got visibility up front in terms of making some choices, and you have control around that. How do you apply that to procurement? You put it in the customer's hand. The idea of self-service, true self-service, and giving them control and visibility. And then lastly, what Uber does, if you don't like the ride, you have the ability instantaneously to provide feedback on that.